But yeah, that's about it. We got another live stream coming up on the 11th, I believe. Oh, Jesus Christ! Sorry about that. Yes, until I move, I'm so you don't see my space, but I'm so cramped up right now. It's like, oh my God.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. In today's episode, I'm doing another top 5 influential horror with Ricky Grimes from Horror Fiend TV. Our first solo video. Just without, well, yeah, I guess that's true because the live was other people. So Rick has been on my channel before. I've been on their channel before. And everyone over there is like huge horror fans. So I was like, I've got to do all of their influential horror. So that's how we got here. So we're going to talk about his influential horror and why he picked them.
Absolutely. What's up? What's up? It's good to be on your channel. Voices from the Mausoleum.
Yeah. Say I end up complaining a lot.
Yeah. Was it the live stream where I said that?
I got on to Tasha for saying it when she was on with you guys.
I said it once on there. I gave her shit for it.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I don't know if you cuss on you.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Right. I gave her a lot of crap for it, and same thing.
Yeah, it happens. I actually, when I was coming up with the name for the channel, I went back and forth on from and of. Yeah. So I've done it too, but everyone does it. So another channel I was on made a thumbnail preview, and it said of, and I was like, it's actually from. It happens all the time. It doesn't offend me. I just think it's funny to give Tasha. I'm like, Tasha, you're my co-host, and like you got the name wrong.
I know how it is. I give GR shit all the time because he types Horror Fiend TV and a cast, but TV is capital T and a lowercase v, and that drives me nuts. I'm like, just capitalize T and V. Come on, man, please. My OCD can't take it. Yeah. I hate that. Yeah, but I love these guys. But thank you. I appreciate being here. Let's
thanks
get
for
into this.
Time.
I'm excited. I always got time for this stuff. Yeah.
You know, 3 of your 5 are on my influential list.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My list isn't necessarily like movies that are my favorite, but when it comes to influential, and it's movies that they're not the first of their kind, but they're movies that really paved the way for the genre. You know, so
yeah. No, I'm excited. This is a really good list. I'm excited.
Thank you. Let's do it.
Yeah. So let's see. So your first one, Night of the Living Dead.
Yes. This is not in no particular order, right?
Right.
Okay. Night of the Living Dead. That's let's get it out of the way right now because that goes without saying. That's it. Zombies are everywhere. Right now, they're kind of on the downside. The Walking Dead's closing up.
Yep.
And too many shitty movies in between. But when Night of the Living Dead first came out, I mean, obviously we weren't born around. We weren't living. But during that time, again, it ain't the first zombie film because we had White Zombie and tons of other zombie films. But it's the film that established the rules that are still being followed to this day. Whether it's a shot to the head or the zombie bites, flesh eaters, all that good stuff. George Romero created a monster because I mean, the zombies from that film, they ups and downs. I mean, during that time, it went up. Then Dawn of the Dead, my favorite horror film of all time.
Yeah.
Really established that. Then you had the Dark Day of the Dead. But then came like Michael Jackson's Thriller. And all of a sudden, zombies were comical. You know?
Yeah.
I love Thriller, by the way. I love Thriller.
No, I know what you mean, though.
Yeah. But it took, because that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that came around the same time as Day of the Dead, at least around the same time frame. So we got George with his most darkest, depraved, and hopeless zombie film. Then you got Michael Jackson coming in. That's like when John Carpenter released The Thing the same month that E.T. came out, you know? So it's like, it's bad luck. But I think early 2007 when The Walking Dead was published, not the show, the comic.
Yep.
I remember I was still a fan, and I picked up the comic book in the stands. It was black and white. Issue number 1, I had it in my hands. I put it down because it was black and white. And forget it to this day because that book But, Yeah, I read the book, but then the show came out, and then the show, it started slow, but by the fourth, fifth season, it was a monster. And then all of a sudden, had zombies everywhere. And the cool thing about it is, somewhere before that, we had before Zack Snyder, we had 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
Which, again, took the same concept, like kind of what George did, took the concept of zombie and kind of flipped it up a bit. It created the runner, the fast zombie, which I still to this day will say 28 Days Later is not a zombie film, but it did inspire the fast runners. I would say that, because Dawn of the Dead remake with Zack Snyder came out, everyone's running, they sound like velociraptors, which I hate, but it's popular. They make money, and they keep making these films for a reason. Unfortunately, like it is what it is. But it all started with Night of the Living Dead, the black and white version. And of course, the social commentary and like the sign of the times and everything that, and like the message that film had at the time was very powerful. And still to this day, if you've never seen it and you watch it for the first time, it sticks with you. So it holds, even if being black and white, the film holds up really well. Except for like the makeup effects and stuff like that.
Well,
the film, it was created by a bunch of guys that only did commercials prior to this. So what you gonna do? But yeah, I think Night of the Living Dead is the prime example of a film that was highly influential, because like I mentioned earlier, there were zombie films before, but not like this. This established what the current modern day zombie is, and will still be for a very long time to come.
Yeah, and zombies are your thing.
Yeah, I love zombies. Like when I was a kid, Dawn of the Dead was the first that I can remember, the horror film that I was exposed to as a young kid.
Yeah.
And when I just first saw like that husband biting into his wife's neck, and the way you look at it now, it looks horrible, but at the time, I'm like, oh my God, they're showing this? That's like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. It's like I'm watching like an X-rated movie for the first time. Like, it's like I couldn't take my eyes off it. Yeah. So I think when it comes to zombies, the fact that they eat you and they were you, like that, it's a weird conundrum to be in. But I think I'm a big zombie fan. Of course, also I gotta mention, we're talking influential. Night started it, but 28 Days kind of took it to a different level. But Shaun of the Dead also came around somewhere in between there. And again, it's a comedy, but the comedy was never with the zombies. The characters were comical around them. The situations were comical, but the zombies were treated with respect. And I dug that. So again, that took the comical side of zombies and made that popular. So it keeps spawning all types of subgenres within the zombie, but it all started with Night of the Living Dead. All right. Next movie. What we got?
Yeah, next movie.
We went way off the rail with that one.
That's okay. That happens.
Yeah.
That's just part of the game. Yeah. So your second one is Halloween.
Right there. The big man, Mike. Mm-hmm. Halloween. And again, another film where there's not much to say, because if you're a horror fan, you already know what's going to be said. Again, Halloween is not the first slasher. There's been slashers before that.
Yeah.
Black Christmas being one of them. I love Black Christmas.
I love Black Christmas.
But even going back to the 70s, like early Wes Craven stuff, it's been there. But Halloween, again, is the one film that came in and changed the game. Because of Halloween, we got Jason. Friday the 13th was spawned because of Halloween. Mm-hmm. Even you name any horror icon that comes after, Michael Myers, it starts with him, because Halloween was the one that set it off. And because it had such a small budget, this film proved that you don't need a big budget to make a successful franchise.
Yeah.
Not at all. And this film was saved in the edit because the film was bad when they screened it. Mm-hmm. And you know what I'm going to say. You know what saved this film? Well, what do you think?
I don't think I know.
The music. John Carpenter, after it's screened, right? It was bad. People were like, this is not scary. They didn't change anything other than the score. Carpenter went in.
I didn't know that.
They gave you that fancy Halloween music that to this day is, I think, let me ask you real quick. When it comes to horror sounds or music or anything, Halloween, that's got to be the most iconic horror theme, right? Absolutely. I mean, anyone, even if you're not a horror fan, you hear that.
I mean, as far as score.
That's what I mean.
Specifically, I'm inclined to. You know what else is interesting, especially because people do not so much now because ringtones aren't as cool as they used to be. But
yeah, I had the Halloween ringtone.
Yeah, so I would be out in public places in the month of October, years ago, and people would have that as their ringtone, and even in a public place, it would be like it has an effect. Like you hear it, and you're just it's the same thing. Like seeing the different versions of it, in like the newer ones and stuff. Like it's still like when you first hear that music. It just puts you in this specific place emotionally. Like it just, I don't know, every time.
It helps that the newer films are also scored by John Carpenter.
Yes.
Even if he doesn't score it, his themes are in it. And these last couple, he's involved him and his son. So
yeah.
It's got that
if they did too much to change it, it would be a problem, I think.
Yeah,
it's too effective. It's like our one little bit of nostalgia to start. It's just, I don't know. It definitely has an impact when you hear it, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, Halloween created the boogeyman. Like Michael Myers is the ultimate boogeyman. I think to me, he's the first horror icon. Because after him came Jason, Freddy, Leatherface. Oh no, I'm sorry, Leatherface was before.
Yeah.
He was before Michael Myers. I take that back.
Yeah, Leatherface was before.
I thought about putting Texas Chainsaw Massacre on this list. But Halloween, what it did for slashers in general, I think edged it out because Leatherface did come before, but slashers I'm talking. I'm not talking horror film in general, but slasher Halloween was definitely the most influential slasher or horror film that gave birth to the modern slasher as what it is today.
Well, and you're talking, and you talked about this with talking about Night of the Living Dead, but you're talking about setting up rules. I mean, this is where we get they always get back up. They all all of these rules of for slashers. And I think what's really interesting too about Halloween, because this eventually happened with Jason too, after the first movie, but this is when we started getting into this weird line of I guess we'll say immortality in our slashers, because Michael Myers, even in the first movie, there's always been this weird plug-in of is he even really completely human? There's always been this weird line that it's you're not really sure if it's and then of course later on they dive way more into that, but even in the first one there's this weird thing because he there isn't a lot that happens. This one's the first one there's a lot of build up to these moments, but you just you're always wondering is he supposed to be not really real? And that happens when you start getting into things Friday the 13th, Jason coming back as this full grown ass man, and I'm not a big fan of the Friday the 13th franchise. I really like the first one, but after that,
I always argued, to me, we'll get back to Halloween, but I think Friday the 13th to me is the most consistent franchise out there, at least to me. If you don't like that style, I understand, but
yeah.
They've been through let me see, 12 movies. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, 12, 13 movies. I don't know.
I think it is over 10.
There's only one of those films 10 was Jason X, and they had I will say 11 or 12 films.
And then because you've also got Freddy versus Jason.
Yes, that was. I think there's only been one film I didn't like, and that was the one where Jason wasn't even in it. It was one where they kept biting his heart, and it would turn you into.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's but everything else, I loved. I don't know. I think Friday the 13th. I love Michael Myers, but Friday the 13th is still my favorite slasher franchise because of the consistency. There's a lot of films, and even I'm not saying they're great films, but I find something to enjoy.
They're entertaining.
Yeah,
sure.
And to go back to Halloween, I love the fact that you brought his immortality into it. That's by design. Because even in the first film, Dr. Loomis, what did he refer Michael Myers as?
Yeah, I mean, they talk about him being, it's and that's what I'm saying. It's even before we knew there was going to be a sequel.
He said the evil is gone. He never called him a man, or he always said he
always
evil,
referred to him as
he knew that this guy wasn't human, man.
It's he's an entity. And then even when you get to the newer ones, when you talk about Halloween Kills, they play into that more. What I think is interesting is when you look at the franchise as a whole, it was like these steps that they took to get the audience used to that concept, and then they just rail you with it, because then it's like by the time you get to Halloween Kills, she's like, yes, and every time he kills someone, he like escalates. You're like, what are you talking about? It's just
that's the problem when they got so many films though, because you're gonna start like come up plot holes and a lot of contradictions and all that stuff.
A lot of problems like that. Well, and you know what I think? I think that's part of why they cut out the middle ones. When they picked up Halloween again, it was like, yeah, but we're not picking up from this one. We're actually just going to pretend that these didn't exist.
It was after part 1, so everything after part 2 was scrapped, right? Is that what it was? Part 2.
Well, yeah, and of course, Season of the Witch didn't have anything to do with.
Hold on. I love Season of the Witch.
Me too.
I love it. Yeah. John Carpenter. Yeah, he set a precedent with that film, and a lot of other younger filmmakers saw that film and were inspired, and that is highly influential.
Yeah. So your next 3 are all on my list. So your next one is the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, Blair Witch Project, again, not one of my most favorite films. I do like it, but it's not like, oh my god, my top 10 or something like that. But come on, man, we can't deny the influence this had, especially on independent filmmaking. I mean, this film, let's be real, the budget went to the marketing of the film. Like this, right time, right place. This was when the internet was first blowing up, and I thought it was real. I'm not gonna lie. All right, when I saw it, no, but when I first
like getting ready to
yeah. I was like, yes. Yeah, let me rephrase that. I was like, oh, what the hell is this? But after I started doing more research and looking into it, okay, it's a film, but I'm liking this. I'm invested. I want to go watch it now in the theater. And at the time, again, it's not the first found footage film. Those other ones before it. I think Cannibal Holocaust probably being the first.
Yeah.
Which I refuse to watch. I've never watched it. Never will.
Definitely, I wouldn't.
But
I've only seen it once. I will only see it once.
I was gonna watch it until I read into it, and I was like, oh no, I'm out.
Especially knowing how you are. Yeah, no. Don't. Skip it.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie though. The film buff in me wants to watch it for historical reasons, but yeah, it's not. I'm not down with it. I'm not down with that.
Yeah, anyway. That's a crazy one.
Yeah, I'm not into like snuff films.
Yeah. Well, and the guy who did it came from making porn.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but
so like because the horror world is like at the bottom of the movie totem pole, that was the only thing he could get his feet in.
Oh, wow. Yeah. See, I didn't know that.
There's another horror movie where the person came from making adult films. What was it?
Yeah, there was a few directors like that.
But it was like, but that was one of the reasons, was because if you went to be a filmmaker and you were like, yeah, I film people having sex and that's what I do, they're going to be like, but horror, it was a lot easier to like get it, to get in there with that. So that was kind of like, anyway, but yes, Cannibal Holocaust. I always want to say Hannibal.
Yeah, right.
Cannibal Holocaust is one of the first original film footage. Mm-hmm.
Yep. But Blair Witch, what makes that such an influential film is it was done on like no budget, and the marketing was pure genius. I mean, they have no actors in it; it was just regular people. And the shot, and what I liked about it, and this is my complaint with a lot of newer films now with better found footage. Mm-hmm. Blair Witch, it gives people a lot of like anxiety and epilepsy. It's a chaotic film to watch. It's all over the place. It's hard to watch, but that's the point. It feels real, and I think found footage films in this day and age are getting away from that. Just because you're pointing a camera at somebody doesn't really. It's got to feel real. Like Blair Witch felt real. The cinematography was terrible. Well, it was good because it was meant to look terrible.
It's meant to be amateur.
Exactly. That's my point. I don't want to say that. I'm not discrediting the cinematography.
Right. No, I know what you're saying.
They did a great job, but yes, it was meant to look raw, like rugged and raw, and just.
And it did. It absolutely.
And sometimes
did.
you look at them out. Where's the characters? You don't see the characters because they're running around and stuff. But you look at it now, and I haven't seen that movie either. Have you seen it recently?
I don't think I've watched it this year.
I want to watch it. I'm curious how well it holds up Because I haven't seen it in a long time.
I think the problem, at least for me personally, because it's so influential to me, and because like, you know, I'm such a huge found footage fan, and I just I have a hard. I think going into it, anytime I've ever rewatched it, it holds up for me, but it's like a lot of nostalgia. So I don't know where it would stand for people who don't just love found footage, didn't just love this movie, because like the reality is, and this is actually one of the things I like about it that a lot of people don't like about it. Nothing happens.
No.
Right?
No.
Like, and I know Joe's talked about this on y'all's channel about what they did with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you think all these things. Like it's when the filmmakers give you just enough to poke your imagination awake, that's when stuff starts to become effective, even when nothing is happening on camera. And I could take my phone in my backyard and make this exact same movie.
It's exactly, anyone could do it, but the way they did it was so effective. And I love the fact you brought that up, because it's 100% true. Like I hate this. Like, I'm sorry, I had a burp. I hate this, like this thing when directors say, "Oh, what you don't see is always scarier," which it can't be true. But that's not don't say that.
Oh yeah,
as an excuse because you couldn't film something correctly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate that. Some movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for example, no blood really in that. The Fog, no blood in that film. You don't have to show extreme violence or gore, but it's just the sound and like the cinematography go hand in hand in that. And Blair Witch, the cinematography was like we mentioned, it's like chaotic, and the sound it felt so weird because they're not actors. There's no script. It's just acting out what you're seeing in front of them, and you could tell. It feels real, like you're watching a real film that was found. That was kind of cheesy,
and they also did a really good job of making you feel isolated.
Yeah.
Like with the back and forth with like I remember the first time I saw this movie, and this feeling, like I will always remember this. When he says that he threw the map away, I felt like I was there with him. I was like,
strangle him, right?
Oh my God. Like, you know, and then like, of course, later when he's a dick, I'm thinking, yeah, well, we're not the ones who threw the damn map in the river. Like, you know, like I'm just like, I got so invested in their feeling of isolation and being lost and running out of supplies and not knowing what to do and hearing this weird shit and finding this weird stuff. And it's just so crazy because like, I feel like kind of piggybacking off of what you said, it's like when it's like they go one way or another. They don't show enough or they show too much. And the ones that show too much are just as ineffective.
If you're a found footage film and you're showing too much,
it ruins it.
You're not doing it right.
Yeah, and actually it doesn't. It's not even limited to found footage. One of the reasons I love the Conjuring franchise, but one of the reasons that I hated the first Annabelle movie is because I don't want to see what has the doll. The doll is what's scary. Leave it alone. Don't show me the demon 30 times like rapid fire the whole movie. Like, I don't want to see that. And that's 100%. What made Blair Witch effective because the scares were very well spaced out. They chose their moments at these like specific points of desperation, anxiety, like we're in these feelings with these people. And then you've got the hands on the tent, and you find the house, and there's like all these things. It was so well paced, and you never saw anything, and that it was far more terrifying.
Let me tell you, if a film this film here has, to me, wins an award for me, the less is more. The scene you mentioned right now with the tent, when somebody's outside just like and then they run out, and oh my God, they run. That shit was so scary to me. It was
so scary.
I don't want to see it because if you see it, all right, we know
it ruins it. Yes.
You don't see it and the characters run. That's what it will be like if you're really there, because you're gonna see somebody messing around. You're gonna run. You're gonna look back. You know what I'm saying? Like movies now, what they would do is they'll run out, they'll turn the camera around so you can see somebody running towards them. But this one, no, they didn't do it. It was all through the character's POV.
And I feel like that's far more realistic because
it's scary.
I'm not doing that in what they do in movies. I'm not doing that if I hear something.
Let me tell you, think about that makes the hair on my arm stand up right now. Like, I'm getting goosebumps because I'm not lying. Hey, I'm not afraid to tell you when something scares me, man. Like that, when I first saw it,
Yeah, that scene, the finding the sticks outside and the final scene of the wall.
Yeah,
he's facing the wall.
That was
those moments, they got me. And I'm still unsettled every time I've rewatched it since seeing it, back then. Like, it's still those moments I'm still like, yep, don't like that. And then talk about too, like, how many movies since Blair Witch do we see the back of people before some crazy shit happens?
Yeah.
Incantation, was it Incantation? Yeah, Incantation did that, where there's like the person who's like facing away, and I'm like, see that if you'd watched the Blair Witch, you would know. You don't go over there.
No, you don't.
You're on your own. Bye.
If I go somewhere, someone's face like their back towards me, all right, I'll see you later.
Yeah, I know. I don't care who you are to me. I'm out.
But Blair Witch,
on your own.
Like I said before, right place, right time. They struck when horror was at a point where it needed something different. Yeah. And this is when forums were, like I said, the internet was, this was 99?
That's right, I think.
Around that time.
Right before, like, because one of the things they did was they had a site about the people missing.
Yeah, because I remember I was in high school when I first saw the internet. I'm old, so I was in high school, like, from 93 to 97. So the internet was still new. This was before Twitter and Facebook. So
none of this stuff.
Everything was about forums back in the day. You would go onto a site. This was before Reddit. And let me tell you, that Blair Witch forum, oh my God. Like, you would go on it and people were talking like it was real.
And everybody had a story. Like, I remember the picture on the top of the... Like, when you went to it, like, I remember the thing, and you were right. It was 99, by the way. Yeah. Like, I remember seeing that, like, after the fact, like, so when this movie came out, I was not old enough. I guess I would have been old enough to see it. I didn't see it when it first came out. So I didn't get to experience the internet hype and the marketing the way a lot of people did. So by the time I saw it, everybody knew what it was about, right?
It was big.
But I'm going to be honest with you. That didn't matter. It still scared me. Still scared me.
Because it's still a well-made film.
Like, it still scared me. And I think, like you, and I learned something that I didn't know about this when I talked about this with another person. But, like, I didn't know that they had, like, a code word for when they had enough. Because they would do things like not eat, and they would be out there. And there was all these things to make them really, like panicky.
You're talking to the actors, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
they had like a safe word.
They did have a safe because they wanted it to be real.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I read about that. They really wanted the actors to feel like they're not safe. Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, like, and I think, whenever I think about like that guy facing the corner,
that was scary.
Was so unsettling.
When I left the theater that day, oh man, like, I kept thinking about the dude with his back, because you're like, what happened to him? Was that really him? Like, what's going on?
And it's so
because it just abruptly ends, so it leaves you with so many questions. I like that. Some people are like, oh, I need to know. No, I don't need to. I'd rather, like, look at us right now. We're talking about it. How many years later we're talking about that? So
yeah, if you need like happy endings, found footage is not the subgenre for you, because a lot of times found footage leaves you with nothing.
Because they're found footage. All you have is the video. If you had the person to tell the story, you don't need the found footage video.
That's it. Yeah. So that takes us to 4.
This is yours right here.
Yeah. Been doing a TikTok battle about this movie. So your number 4 is Scream.
Ghostface. Yeah, I love that shirt.
Yeah.
What can I say? Like, Halloween was it's probably the biggest influence of film, but Scream brought it all back. Because there was a time when the horror was gone, man, like, done. Especially slashers, but Scream came in and just turned everything upside down. I mean, it brought the slasher genre to a whole nother audience, like a younger generation for one. And many tried to copy Scream. A lot of people try to replicate the same type of film. I mean, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, even like remakes of
there was a bunch that came out after. Yeah,
House of Wax and all these. I'm talking about the floodgates open for all types of slasher
You're
films.
right.
They remade My Bloody Valentine. I mean, you name the film, they did it. I mean, Scream is a film that is late 90s, I believe. 95, 96?
6, I think.
Somewhere around there. In a ton, again, slasher films were just dead. I think Halloween H2O and stuff like that was coming around, like those, the lesser ones. But Scream, man, something about it. And what I liked about it, Wes Craven, when he wrote it, and he wrote it, right? He did. Yeah. It wasn't Williams yet, because that was someone else. He wrote and directed. So when he came up with this film, it was very meta. He's giving you a commentary on how like bad like horror films have gotten and how like almost a punchline they became, and he made it an integral part of the film, and that is pure genius right there.
Yeah,
because they're giving you all like the tropes, the horror rules, and as horror fans,
I love it.
Rules.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, let's
so
hear it. You love the franchise. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is was I guess past tense because he's not alive anymore, but was so great
his
about
birthday was yesterday. By the way.
I know. Is like one of the things that I love about him is he breathed life into things like right at moments when I think we needed it. Like exactly to your point, like Scream came around at a time where like what was going on? Like there really wasn't much. And I think
horror was dead, yeah.
It was. And then it's funny because like to your point, when I first saw Scream for the first time, I was very young. So I definitely got a much different appreciation for it much later in life and seeing it. But Scream is my first, other than Poltergeist, because I started so young. But Scream is my first franchise that I grew with. Like I went and saw the continuations in theaters, not the second one, because the second one came out like a year later. So I didn't go see the second one in theaters. I was too young. But I've seen everyone since then when they've come out in theaters. And it's been a franchise that I just I've always loved. And what's true is even in the ones like I know we talked before we started recording about like my rankings for Scream, like even the ones that don't rank higher for me, I still enjoyed them.
Yeah, they're
like
fun.
And you mentioned this talking about Friday the 13th, but I feel like Scream is one of the most consistent franchises because even though it definitely has some weak points in certain ones and a lot of it, I know I hear people complain about this with Scream in general, is that like, it's like the same stuff. And it's like, but that's kind of the point.
That's the
because
point.
In addition to making fun of itself, it's still showing respect for the subgenre. Because what's true is Ghostface is not a friendly slasher person, right? Like he's not like a friendly antagonist that you just are like so excited to see. Like he's unsettling because most of the time this person. It's someone you've shared a bed with. It's someone that you're best friends with. It's someone you're related to that you didn't know you were related to. Like, and that's like, yeah, okay. So they keep doing that. But that's really what's always made Scream so good is the fact that it's like, it's these things that we're comfortable with just these little like tweaks here or there and I love. So I'm a huge fan of the Scream franchise in general. I'm like, I love, it's just been one of my favorites forever. And I think that, I mean, when you're talking about a wake up call to a dead subgenre, like that's exactly what Wes did when he made Scream.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Because horror at that time was gone. And what really made Scream awesome too, it did not take itself serious whatsoever. No. And that was a key to its success because you said it was very entertaining. It's a fun film to watch.
It is.
And it didn't shine the gore when we needed to kill someone and they needed to show gore. They showed it. And also it introduced the maybe not introduced it, but they definitely popularized it where the big A-list star cameos in the beginning just to get killed. And I mean, I saw it. You didn't see the first one. You said it was too young. But when the first one came out,
I saw it after.
Drew Barrymore was all over the promotion for this film. It wasn't Neve Campbell because she wasn't yet established. She was only on a Party of Five, I think. How the show was.
The show, yeah.
It was Drew Barrymore. So when you watched it, you thought she was she was the show. And when she got off, the rules got thrown out the window at that point. Oh man, what's going to happen now? All right, cool. I'm invested now. You're invested. because you know what? A monkey wrench got thrown. Now you're like, you don't know what you're gonna get yourself into. So.
You thought you did.
Yeah.
You're thinking final girl, right?
Yes. Because up until this point, the final girl is always the main. It starts with the final girl. It ends with the final girl. Yeah. Here it starts with Drew Barrymore, but it don't end with her. It's begins and ends there. And now we get the story of Ghostface. We know the perfect introduction to this character. We know how he works, what makes him tick. We know the type of character he is without even knowing who's behind the mask at this point.
Yeah, because that part doesn't actually matter as far as what they're establishing for the role.
No. And then the fact that you're going through this film with one killer when in reality it was really two. And that again, man, that's like a nice little, twist thrown at you, especially near the end of the film. And then the two killers, when I first saw, I wasn't saying, "Oh, it's Skeet Ulrich and Lillard over here." No, I didn't know.
Yeah,
they did such a good job of throwing you so many red herrings here and there, and
and I think it was because they had you convinced most of the time that it was just one. If there had ever been hints from the beginning of the movie that there were two, it would have ruined the whole thing, because you would have thought boyfriend, but because boyfriend was in jail. That didn't make any sense. And it went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you know what's like really crazy to me is like when you go back and watch it, you think to yourself, it's actually really obvious. But as a first time view, when you don't know anything about it, it wasn't. Like you just didn't know.
And I got so mad too. Years later, Billy Loomis, I didn't realize that Loomis was like a play off of Dr. Loomis from Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what the fuck? How did I not? I didn't get it. And what was Matthew Lillard was Stu, right? Stu. That was Stu. Yeah. It's been a while. But yeah.
Still holding out, hoping he's gonna make like an appearance.
Yeah. Well, to this day, this franchise is still going. Neff Campbell's not in the last one though, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, she was in the most recent, but she will not be in 6 because they couldn't come to better terms for her financially, which is really sad because aside from her acting, she wrote a lot of stuff too. Like she contributed a lot to this franchise outside of just her face and her acting. So it's really sad. I am excited that Kirby is coming back, and I am excited about the casting of Samara. I think it's Samara. Weaving. That's it. Sorry. God, I was totally spacing on her freaking name. I really like her. As long as they don't bring Jill back from 4. And and they're also going away from Woodsboro. This is going to take place in Manhattan. Which I'm pumped. I'm like, just whatever you want to do.
As long as the quality keeps up,
and you know what's interesting? I keep seeing these like theories, and I love it. And that's the other thing is I know people who don't even like this franchise that still talk about movie theories, like because it still leaves an impact, whether you hate it or love it. You still talk about it, like and one of the things that I do hope Stu comes back. I think that would be remarkable. But one of the two things that I've heard that I think make a lot of sense that I really love is that there was actually a third killer. Have you heard this theory?
No, I did not.
So and I'm trying to remember. I'm probably going to butcher it because I'm trying to remember the like lineup of this. So when we get the shot of the friend being killed. We get the shot of what is the girl's name? Oh my God!
See, you put on one of my moves.
5. Amber. When we get I couldn't think of her damn name. When we're getting the shot of Amber in the window, like there's a scene like that, and then at that same time that's happening, someone else is being killed. So like all these things are going on. Who was filming Amber?
Okay. I
right?
See.
So, and furthermore, she makes this statement later. One of our killers, I guess I'll be careful with spoilers here. One of these killers makes a very specific comment about who they got to kill, right? Mm-hmm. But the person who killed this person was like 6 feet tall. And like not this tiny little shrimpy girl.
Yes. I know exactly where you're going. I said that too. I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second.
I'm like, and that specific kill is exactly what Stu describes he would do if he was a killer. He specifically describes that scene in the first Scream movie.
Okay, you know, I gotta go back and watch that now.
I've been like watching like
I gotta go back and watch
stuff. Like I'm super invested in 6. Like I'm like, let's
I tell you what,
like,
if that happens in part 6, I'm gonna shout you out on that one.
Yeah, I'm like, there's got to be a third, and honestly, I hope there is because they really should do something a little different now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they are trying to. You know, I don't think they planned on not having, you know, Nev Campbell, but I think that they're, you know, by bringing Kirby back, by branching out of Woodsboro, like I like that. I think they're headed in the right direction.
They got a lot of momentum because the last film was good. Even if you didn't like it, it was still not a terrible film. Like it was
I loved it.
Oh yeah, we had fun. We reviewed it. I thought we all three of us liked it, I believe. I know I did. I loved it.
It was the first Scream movie that I got emotional. I'll tell you that. It made me emotional.
What part?
The first reunion with Gail and Dewey.
Yeah.
Then when Gail and Sydney see each other at the hospital, and then the scene that led them to the hospital.
Let me ask, how much of a awesome character was Dewey though? From his character progression from the first film until this one.
I know.
Man.
And it's funny because like I think too, like that's another theory I've seen or heard about is that he was actually the third killer.
I hope not. See, stuff like that, I don't want
that he was the third killer. But no, I mean, it's interesting because I don't typically like when I watch slashers, I don't really always get invested in the characters because I mean, like a lot of times, like you just, you know, I mean, I don't know, slashers to me are more like fun movies. They're not usually these like overly heavy.
You don't need to sit back and think about nothing.
Yeah, they're more fun and they're a little bit lighter.
You laugh at it. Joke.
Yeah, and like so I don't typically get invested in slasher characters, but I was like when I got to certain parts of 5, I was like amazed at how like upset I was getting. Like I felt like, and it probably is because Scream is so near and dear to me, and these characters are characters I've been watching my like whole life.
Yeah.
You know, but it was just like it was so I loved 5. I'm super excited about 6, but Scream is on my list as well because I like it took the slasher subgenre and like grew it. They made it bigger.
Blew it up, yeah.
You know, and I mean, even if you hate the franchise, you can't ignore that.
Just look at all the films that came out after that were similar. Not copying it, but like slasher with teens, you know,
but
like
just the movies.
Who's the killer? Like there's so many films that came out. Like most of them were bad, but it's the fact that they all came out, and then again, slasher genre blew up. Then they brought back Jason for one last time. That's pissing me off. They need to, New Line Cinema need to get the rights settled because I need more Jason in my life.
Yeah, and it's like I've seen the meme that's like I'm getting a new movie and I'm getting a new movie, and it's like Ghostface and Michael Myers, and then Jason's like,
I can't believe that. Yeah, like oh my god, it's Jason. I don't know. Whatever's.
Yeah, no, I love Scream. Scream is a franchise that I can talk about forever.
I would always go support a Scream film.
Yes, me too.
Yeah,
me too.
I love it. It's well deserved.
No matter how many they make.
It's got its point in horror history. Absolutely, 100%. Ricky Grimes is awesome. All right, let's do it. What's the last film here?
All right, so the last film is Saw.
All right, let's do it. Saw. Now, again, torture porn is not my thing, but I cannot deny the impact that Saw had. Saw, I do like this. I'm not gonna lie, I do like the franchise. I'm a fan of the franchise. I do like it, but everything that came after it kind of lost what Saw was trying
the magic.
Yes, all they thought, oh, let's just take a bunch of people and torture them, and that's a film. No, it's not just that.
Yeah, and the secrets got weaker.
Yes,
I agree with that.
But the first film, when Jigsaw was on the floor, all right, guys, spoilers. It's a movie like over
for this.
How many
30-year-old movie?
Like when Jigsaw was in the room the entire time.
That fucked with me so bad.
To me, Saw created not only the torture porn, but the fact where the big twist would come in. I mean, I think 7 would probably. What's the? I don't want. This is a whole other conversation, but Saw did bring in the fact. All right, there's going to be a twist. There's going to be something. Now you're going to look for it. Every movie now after this, but Yeah, the fact that Jigsaw was in the floor the whole time, small cast, 2 people locked in one room the entire film, practically 95% of the film. The biggest star, Danny Glover,
like
was
$2.
outside. Yeah, and the fact, but again, this was the very first torture porn film that was out. After this, Hostel. Yeah, I mean, Hostel was another notorious.
Hostel's a lot heavier on the porn thing, so I'm not like a big fan of Hostel.
Yeah, Hostel, same here. I like Eli Roth, but
I like him too, but
I'm not. I agree. That's not my favorite. My favorite franchise. I wasn't too enamored with that one, but
I was in high school when that came out. I think it's like maybe my senior year.
Yeah.
And I thought I like horror movies. I was like, oh, I'll take this boy I like to go see this movie.
Oh man.
Can you imagine being a 17-year-old girl sitting in that theater with a boy that you like watching Hostel?
See, I thought I had it back. I went on a date once. I took a girl to see From Hell with Johnny Depp.
Oh.
And I was like, that was kind of heavy at the time, but
that's rough, yeah.
I can't imagine taking a date to go see Hostel. Saw, what can I say about Saw? Again, a small budget, first time director, James Wan. Did he do anything before Saw? It was him and I forgot. Oh God, Lynn White. Oh God, I forgot the guy's name. I'm sorry, but the co-star from Saw. I forgot. Yeah. He's done a lot of stuff.
The photographer.
He's the Australian guy. Yeah, he did a ton of stuff.
I really like him. He's good. He's good. He does a lot. He did a lot of interviews on the show, on a Shudder.
Well, he directs a lot of horror films now.
History of Horror, the Eli Roth show.
Yes.
Lee, whatever his last name is, he does a lot of interviews with that, and he talks about Saw and some other stuff he's done. But I really like him too. He's phenomenal.
Yeah. So good stuff. Yeah, him and Carrie Ells. Come on, Carrie Ells. Come on. I'm a kid from the '80s. He was all over the '80s, so I loved it. He was great. Yeah, so it's 2 guys locked in one room the entire time with one dead guy in the middle the whole time. And that was pretty much it. They had a few flashbacks, of course, or, it took us to where all the traps were, those characters were. But this was made with relatively, your biggest star was Danny Glover in this film. He probably had the highest paycheck here.
Yes, I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah.
Because by this time, the other guy is kind of not in his prime anymore. Not age-wise, but career-wise.
Well, even Carrie Ells,
Sorry, I couldn't think of his name.
That's okay. But he was a big genre actor. But he wasn't a big name. Don't get me wrong.
That's fair. No, that's so. Yeah. So, yeah. But yes, Danny Glover would have been.
But Danny Glover's he was the mainstream actor that would drew eyes to the film.
Yep.
But even the small role he played was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't a small role. He was in it for a good amount, but still, he wasn't the main focus was the 2 guys locked in this one room. He
wasn't right. He didn't actually have that much on screen time. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, what else? Yeah, what else is there to say? A small budget, and what they did with this film, they took it back to a place where, okay, as long as if you have a hook that's clever, intelligent, and well made, you can have a small budget and still make a film that's. I mean, look at the franchise that's. Do you think when they created Saw for the first time, did they know this was to become the franchise it became? No. Hell no. They probably thought, no, I got this script. If you guys want to make it for $20,000.
So I do know that they wrote out 8 parts.
Initially? Yeah.
Nice. But to your point, not necessarily with the expectation that those movies that writing would become, and what's true is it definitely didn't stay as good as it was. But I have always said that the first 3 are still pretty strong. 2 and 3, even though they couldn't beat 1. There was no way, right?
Look, yeah.
The secrets in 2 and 3 were still, in my opinion, pretty good. And
I love 2. I'm a big fan of 2.
2 is good. I really like 2 when you learn that Amanda's this. Oh my.
Yeah.
But I liked 3 because when you get to the end of 3 and you realize that the doctor and the guy that lost his kid are married, I was like, Oh, I didn't like that. That hit me, and like, oh, I was like, damn.
And that's the crazy part. We're going like 4, 5, 6, and we're still getting twists and turns from characters that were in the first few films.
It was so good, and I really liked those two or those three. The first three were my favorite.
That's
and I saw Spiral.
I didn't see it. Was it good?
It wasn't.
No, I didn't see. You know, I didn't see it.
It didn't really have a. Did it even have a secret? I think I figured out the ending about halfway.
The nice thing about this franchise is, even though there's a lot, I lost track. There's a lot of Saw films, right? But they all always tied to the films prior to it. It was one story that kept building and building and building and building. I like that.
Like a continuation instead of just a start over.
Yeah, I really dug that, because if you put them all together, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a few plot holes here and there, but for the most part, it worked out.
Well, and I think and I think this is another one that was actually relatively consistent as well. I mean, it didn't feel like it strayed too far from what it was at its core.
I don't remember them too well because I've seen so many films since then. But
yeah,
I can tell you this right now. I don't remember one film sticking out like, oh, that was terrible. I hated it. No, I enjoyed, for the most part, all of them in it. Now, like, going through these films, with the exception of Scream, Night of the Living Dead, Halloween, Blair Witch, and Saw, these are all small budget films. Like, when you think about it.
That's true.
Like, look at it. These are all highly influential films, and the budget compared to what films come out now, that tells you something. That's telling. Like, you don't need a big budget. You get a good idea, a good concept, and a way to shoot it, and a good original idea. Or even in this, it don't got to be original. It's got to be fresh. Like, Scream wasn't the most original film as far as what it was set up to do. All. But the way it did it, though, was refreshing. Yeah. But Saw is in that same vein where at the time when you saw it, like, holy shit, I've never seen something like this. When you've seen films that are violent like that, but never done in a way where you said it, it's a puzzle. And it takes you from the beginning to the end of the film. And then even the first film, it continues it on part 2, part 3. It continues that same puzzle up until the very end. Well, again, I didn't see Spiral, so I don't know how that fits into everything. But
well, and I think too, like, the other thing that's interesting specifically about Saw is it kind of toes this line between, and I know this is the only way I can think to put it, but it almost makes Jigsaw an anti-hero, right? Because there's a reason. It's not mindless. And then and I love that one of the things that they chose to do with it is they have this Amanda character that we meet in 1 who is like, he saved my life.
Yeah.
And it's this push and pull of like these are really fucked up things.
Yes.
And when it's him, when it's actually Jigsaw, when it's actually John Kramer, when it's actually him, there's ways to get out of all of these things and to live a better life, to get a second chance, to get perspective, whatever. It's extreme, sure. But it's one of those things where, at least for me personally, it was hard not to be like, huh, like just to think about, like, you know, like I never felt like I never gave a second thought to people that Michael Myers, I never gave a second thought to people like Michael Myers or Ghostface when they kill. It's like, no, they're bad. Like, they're bad. But then you've got this person who's dying.
You know his motive. Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, and it was this weird line of like, yeah, what he's doing is wrong, but I kind of get it.
And
like,
you know what else is cool? I'm sorry, go. You finish it.
No, that was all I was gonna say. Go ahead.
Like, John Kramer was the villain of, obviously, Jigsaw, but he wasn't always the villain. He was always in the story, but they always took that villain mantle and gave it to someone else. Yes. But it made sense. It did. So they kept John in the story, but he wasn't always. So the fact that you got all these sequels with these different villains in the forefront, especially I forgot his name, the cop. I loved him so much. He was such a great villain.
Yeah.
So Kramer was always there, but he was always looming over everything, but he wasn't always the main protagonist. And that kept it fresh, in my opinion. They found a way to take the focus away from John Kramer and put it on someone else, but still have the essence of John Kramer looming over everything. And I think that was pure genius, the way they pulled that off.
So, so that's a really good list. Like I said, several of them are on mine as well. So, Tell everybody about Horror Fiend TV. What do you guys have going on?
Horror Fiend TV. So we're pretty much a channel. We're horror fans. We love horror movies. We love talking horror.
Yeah.
We review films. We got a flagship show, Three Corners of Horror. It's me, my two other brothers, JR and Joe. Mm-hmm. They're the two actual brothers. I'm just the third wheel, but we're all brothers, you know.
Yeah. Right.
We talk horror. We have our own individual shows. I have Horror Fiend Driving Theater, which is just me talking about movies I love. Usually they're movies from the 80s that are just movies I find fun, I grew up with, that have a lot of sentimental value to me. But I branch out newer films as well. And the cool thing about us three, we are like, I love 80s splatter, practical effects, gore, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Joe is more psychological. He's he's an actual psychologist, he's got a PhD and all that stuff. And he's more on that end. JR is more found footage, international films. So we all got our own little, strengths here. So my show is about that. JR's found footage primarily right now. And Joe's got his own stuff coming in. The psychologist is in, where he breaks down a horror movie. He tells you if it's psychological or is it horror. So it's different kind of stuff. And his next one is called, and he might hate me saying it, but I'm going to say it right now, movies that fuck you up. But yeah, Horror Fiend TV. I'm Ricky Grimes. We got Joe and JR on there as well. So we're horror fans and we talk horror. And I always say, every time I end the video, I always say, stay scared. Because that's George Romero's, when you got his autograph back in the day, that's what he would sign, stay scared. So
I didn't know that's why you said that.
Yeah, there you go.
That's cool.
And you're the only person I told that to, by the way. That's whenever you got an old school George signature,
that's
stay
awesome.
Scared. So he's my favorite. That's like my hero.
I love that. I didn't know that's why you said that.
Yeah, that's why I say it all the time. So that's us.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna put all of their information in the description below for this video, so you can go and find them. I will say, I have to say this, like, I think one of the coolest things about what you guys do is I love that it's done like a TV program. It's like you guys all have your separate shows, you have your seasons, you have things you do together, separate. Like, it's such a diverse, like, discussion about horror. And I love that because, so one of the things that I got told not to do when I started making my channel by someone that knows nothing about YouTube is that I was going to be doing too much because I wanted to do everything. I wanted to cover everything. I wanted to do makeup.
There's no such thing as too much.
And I'm like, but the thing is like, not people who are horror fans are not necessarily just horror movie fans. Like that's not, and I love that you guys are you taking the same approach. You're doing all of these things that you want to do. That's it's all horror related, but it's all these different pieces. And
it's different. That's the thing. We want to do with our shows. Make them all. There's three of us. We want to make them all different.
I love it. No, you guys are doing great.
That was all JR. JR's idea with making it like a TV channel.
I think I really love that. That's and that was before when I think, because we started interacting because JR and I followed each other on Instagram, and I posted, or I think I posted that I was watching Virus 32 or whichever way it was. One of us posted, and I either commented or he commented, and that was how that conversation. But I remember going to see your channel like right after I met him, and going and looking, I was like, that's such a cool concept. Like, I don't know of anything else, because you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of stuff like Creep Show, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side. Like, and it's immediately all of these things. Yes. And I was like, oh my God, it makes me feel like I'm like, I love it. No, I think it's great.
The cool thing too, what I like about not just us, but everyone in general. If you go back to our channel, for example, you watch our very first video. Oh boy, is that rough! And you see us progress. We've been at it for a little over a year now, and we're getting better at it. We're still rough, but we're new. We're just getting started.
No, you guys are doing phenomenal.
But the passion is there. Like when I see you and Tasha talk, for example, like the passion. And that's what I look for when I talk to people. Like, you don't got to be like the most established person out there or the most well-versed or the biggest following. But if you got the passion for horror, we got something in common right there. Like, it's a family. Horror is always, like, I've been to so many horror conventions.
Yeah.
And again, I always say this, some of the nicest folks you could just run into and just talk. Shoot the shit with, share a beer. Or if you don't drink, it's anything. They're the nicest people you could talk to, and we all share that. I like that. Horror for life. Streaming services definitely helped horror because that gave all these directors with no money an avenue to release stuff. So I love it, man. It's a great time to be a horror fan. So I think it deserves a little discussion. But
no, that'd be cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you a lot. I appreciate the invite again. You're coming back on our show pretty soon as well. So look for that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure. Okay, well I'll let you get back to your night though. Thanks.
All right, Angel. No problem. No problem. I appreciate it. Keep watching horror movies, and don't forget, everyone, stay scared.
Stay scared. I'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye. Yeah. So that was my influential horror conversation with Rick from Horror Fiend TV. As always, all of their information will be in the description below. Highly recommend their channel. Very diverse and fun, unique takes on horror. If you're a horror fan, it's definitely a channel you want to be following. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hope you have a good rest of your week. Enjoy the weekend, and I will see you in the next one.